Level 1, the Tirocinium. You arrive at camp with nothing. Your father sold grain for 6 months to buy your gear. The centurion looks at your soft hands. He spits. You dig. The shovel blisters your palms on the first stroke. You dig anyway. Seasoned legionaries watch. They laugh. Your tunic tears on a root. More laughter. The latrine pit grows deeper. Your back screams. You keep digging. The mud sticks to everything. Your sandals, your legs, your pride. Night falls. You collapse on straw that smells like piss. Someone stole your bread ration. You say nothing. Dawn breaks. You dig again. The blisters pop. Blood mixes with mud. The centurion nods. That counts for something. You are learning. This is how Rome makes soldiers. The days blur into a rhythm of earth and pain. You wake before the buccina sounds, muscles locked from sleeping on ground that never softens. The other Tirociniums stumble through morning drills, while veterans critique every clumsy thrust of your gladius. Your sword work looks like a farmer swatting flies. The wooden training posts bear the gouges of 10,000 recruits who came before you. You learn to march, 25 miles in full kit under the Italian sun. Your feet bleed through your caligay by mile 10. The veteran ahead of you hums marching songs while you wheeze like a bellows. Your pack weighs 60 pounds and cuts into shoulders that burn with each step. When someone falls out, the whole century stops. You dig them a grave for their pride. Then you march on. The camp construction never ends. Every night, you build Rome in miniature. Ditch and rampart. Palisade stakes driven deep. Your hands crack from handling timber. Splinters work their way under your nails and fester there. The surveyor's groma catches sunlight as he marks boundaries with mathematical precision. You follow orders that make no sense. Move these stones here. Now move them back. The centurion explains nothing. Legionaries who question die. Legionaries who comply live to see morning. You eat what they give you. Barley porridge that tastes like wet stone. Sour wine that burns your throat. Sometimes bacon fat when the supply train arrives on time. Your stomach shrinks to accommodate disappointment. The mess tent fills with the sound of men chewing tough bread and making jokes you don't understand yet. Veterans speak in camp slang that sounds like another language. You learn by listening. You learn by watching. You learn by bleeding. The weapons training breaks you down further. Your gladius feels wrong in your grip. Too heavy, too light, too something. The instructor corrects your stance with the flat of his blade across your shins. You learn the cuts. Thrust to the belly. Draw across the throat. Simple movements repeated until your arm moves without thought. The scutum weighs 22 pounds and your left shoulder screams after an hour of shield work. But you hold it up. You hold it steady. Sleep comes hard on straw that never dries completely. Men cough through the night. Some cry quietly for mothers they will not see for 25 years. You lie awake, counting the months until discharge. The number seems impossible. Your bunkmate whispers that half the Tirocinium wash out in the first year. Disease takes some, desertion takes others. The centurion's vine staff takes a few. You close your eyes and dream of home until the buccina tears you back to darkness and mud and the endless work of becoming Roman. Tomorrow you will dig again. Your hands will bleed again. The veterans will laugh again. But tonight, you survived another day. In 6 months, fresh Tirocinium will arrive at camp with soft hands and torn tunics. Level 2, miles. You made it through training. You carry the same 60 pounds, but now it feels different because you know what each piece is for. Your scutum shield fits your grip. Your gladius sits right on your hip. Your pilum javelin balances in your hand like it belongs there. The centurion still counts your steps, but now he knows your name. You march 20 miles before breakfast. Your feet have calluses in all the right places. Your shoulders have adapted to the weight of your mail shirt. You can dig a ditch, build a palisade, and set up camp in the dark because your hands remember the motions. That counts for something. Your pay is 225 denarii per year. After deductions for food, equipment, and burial fund, you see maybe half of that. You send most of what remains home to your family. Your mother uses it to fix the roof. Your sister buys cloth for a wedding dress. They write letters that take months to reach you. You sleep 8 men to a tent. Marcus snores. Lucius talks in his sleep about a girl in Gaul. Quintus has nightmares and wakes up swinging. You learn to sleep through anything. You learn which men you trust to watch your back when the horns blow. You learn which ones will trade their bread for your wine. The centurion assigns work details. You dig latrines. You repair roads. You build bridges over rivers that will freeze your bones. You carry messages between camps through forests where wolves follow your scent. You stand guard duty in rain that soaks through everything you own. Your hands crack in winter. Your feet blister in summer. You fight. Not the glorious battles they sing about in Rome. Skirmishes with bandits who know these mountains better than you do. Raids on villages that resist tax collection. Patrols that disappear into swamps and never come back. You learn that most men die from disease, not sword wounds. You learn that victory sounds different when you are holding your shield mate while he bleeds. Your optio teaches you to read tactical signals, smoke patterns, horn calls, flag positions. You memorize the standard formations. Testudo when arrows fall like rain. Wedge when you need to break their line. Square when they surround you. You practice until your feet move without thinking. Your equipment is your responsibility. You oil your mail every night. You sharpen your gladius on the same stone your grandfather used. You repair your own sandals. You know every rivet on your helmet. When something breaks in battle, no one else will fix it for you. You see the immunes working, specialists with actual trades. The armorer who repairs weapons. The medicus who sets broken bones. The surveyor who plans the roads. They still march with the legion, but they have skills beyond killing. They earn extra pay. They sleep in smaller tents. They answer to different officers. Some of your tent mates have been miles for 5 years, 10 years. They know every road between Hadrian's Wall and the Rhine. They can tell you which taverns in Colonia Claudia water their wine. They show you scars from 3 different campaigns. They teach you how to stay alive. You want what the immunes have: better quarters, specialized work, recognition for something other than how far you can march. But first, you need to prove you can do this job every day for years without breaking. 20 miles today, 20 miles tomorrow. The centurion counts every step. Level 3, immunes. You know the weight of a ballista bolt. 30 pounds of iron and wood that can punch through a shield wall at 400 paces. Your hands recognize the tension in twisted sinew before it snaps. The other soldiers dig latrines while you calibrate the torsion on siege engines that cost more than their annual salary. The centurion assigns you to the engineering cohort. No more ditch digging. No more carrying water for the cavalry horses. You maintain the legion's artillery, ballistae, scorpions. The massive onagers that hurl stones the size of a man's head into enemy walls. Your fingers are permanently stained with grease and your knuckles split from wrestling with bronze fittings, but you sleep dry when the common soldiers wake up in puddles. You understand mathematics now, trajectory calculations, load weights, the precise angle needed to clear friendly troops and hit the enemy gate. Numbers that keep Romans alive and kill everyone else. The optio watches you work and nods. That counts for something. Your tent mates still call you by your first name, but they ask you questions now. How far can the big catapult throw? Whether the walls will hold against your engines. You know things they don't. Technical knowledge that separates you from the mass of men who only swing swords and carry shields. You explain gear ratios to soldiers who can barely count to 20. The work is precise. Endless maintenance on machines that must function perfectly when the moment comes. You replace worn bronze bearings. You retwist sinew rope when the tension drops. You oil every moving part twice daily because rust kills Romans faster than barbarian spears. One miscalibrated shot and your bolt tears through your own men instead of theirs. You eat the same porridge as every other soldier, sleep on the same hard ground, march the same 20 miles when the legion moves. But when camp is made, they dig while you assemble. They haul stones while you calculate ranges. They stand guard duty while you adjust elevation mechanisms by torchlight. The other immunes respect your skills. The blacksmiths who forge your bolt heads. The engineers who design your siege towers. The medical orderlies who set bones and stitch wounds. All of you specialists, all of you still common soldiers, when the horn blows for battle formation, your immunity extends to labor details, not combat assignments. A Germanic warrior charges your position during the siege of their hilltop fortress. Your ballista bolt takes his head clean off at 50 paces. Perfect shot. Textbook trajectory. The centurion slaps your shoulder. The other soldiers cheer. You reload and calculate the next target while his body is still falling. But when evening comes and the engineers tally ammunition expenditures, you're the one who reports the numbers. Bolts fired, hits confirmed, stone projectiles remaining. Your signature goes on the inventory scroll that travels up the chain of command. Clerks in Rome will read your handwriting and know exactly how many barbarians your machines killed today. Your mother's letters find you 6 months late. She writes about the olive harvest and asks when you're coming home. You read by oil lamp while calibrating spring tension on a scorpion that will perforate enemy cavalry tomorrow. The same lamp illuminates both worlds. The farm where you learn to count on your fingers. The siege engine where you calculate death trajectories with mathematical precision. The principals notice your work now. They ask your opinion on optimal firing angles. They trust your judgment on mechanical problems. You're still sleeping 8 men to a tent, but your expertise elevates you above the mass of common soldiers who know nothing but how to die in formation. Level 4, the principals. You carry the Aquila. The eagle standard weighs 30 pounds in your arms and represents everything Rome stands for. When the century advances, you advance first. When they retreat, you're the last to move. The bronze eagle catches sunlight and enemy attention in equal measure. Arrows whistle past your ears. You do not flinch. Your monthly pay is now 400 denarii. Double what the Hastidi earn. You can afford better gear. Real mail instead of bronze plates. A helmet with cheek guards that actually fit. Hobnailed boots that don't fall apart after a month of marching. The quartermasters know your name now. They set aside the good wine before it runs out. You eat with the other principals in a separate section of camp. No more sitting in the dirt with fresh recruits complaining about blisters. You discuss tactics, weather patterns. Which roads are safest for the baggage train? The conversations matter now. Your opinion carries weight when the centurion asks for input on tomorrow's march order. But the standard never leaves your hands during battle. 20 pounds of bronze and wood while you're trying to dodge gladii and keep formation. Your shield arm aches constantly because you can't use it properly. The Aquila makes you a target. Enemy commanders point at you specifically. Kill the standard bearer, and the century scatters. You know this. They know this. The mathematics are simple. You sleep with the standard beside your bedroll. Guard duty means guarding it too. 4 hours of sleep becomes 3 because someone needs to watch the eagle even when it's supposedly secure. The bronze needs polishing. The wooden shaft needs oiling. The leather wrappings need replacing after every major engagement. Standard maintenance is constant. Your century depends on seeing that eagle. When smoke fills the battlefield and dust clouds everything, they look for your position. When formations break down and chaos takes over, they rally to the standard. You are their fixed point, their North Star, made of metal and authority. If you fall, they scatter. If you run, they run. The weight is more than 30 pounds. The other principes respect you but keep distance. Standard bearers die frequently. Forming close friendships with someone whose job description includes drawing enemy fire feels like poor investment. You understand this logic. You practice it yourself with the Hastadi replacements who arrive monthly. You know which tribunes treat principes with actual respect and which ones view you as expensive equipment. Tribune Marcus asks your assessment of river crossing sites. Tribune Gaius orders you around like a pack mule with opinions. You remember both approaches. Roman politics extends all the way down to century level. Your back hurts constantly from the standard's weight during long marches. 15-mile days with 30 pounds of bronze and wood changing your center of gravity. Your shoulders are broader now, but your spine compresses differently. The Century Medicus knows your specific complaints. Lower back, right shoulder, left hip from compensating. Enemy forces study standard bearers. They know Roman tactics depend on visual coordination. Gallic warriors aim for the Aquila first. Germanic tribes send their best spear throwers after standards. Numidian cavalry circles wide to target standard bearers specifically. You've learned to read incoming projectiles by their trajectory. Most target you. But you've earned something beyond pay and equipment. Respect that comes from carrying Rome's symbol into places where people die for symbols. The Aquila represents centuries of conquest, generations of soldiers who carried it before you. When you plant it in conquered soil, you plant Roman authority. When you raise it at dawn, you wake the camp to Roman discipline. The weight never gets lighter. You just get stronger at carrying it. Level 5, the optio. You carry the wooden staff now, 2 feet of solid oak that marks your authority over 80 men in your century. The Hasti look over their shoulders at you before the trumpet sounds. They know what the staff means. They know what you do with it. Your centurion walks ahead of the line. You walk behind it. The space between contains everything that matters in this moment. Forward is glory and promotion. Backward is your staff across their spine. The armor weighs differently now. Mail rings over your shoulders, bronze plates across your chest, quality metal that costs you 3 months' pay but saves your life when a Gallic spear point slides off instead of through. You earn the right to buy protection. Most of these men still fight in tunics and hope. You memorize their names in the first week. Marcus, who pisses himself before every charge. Gaius, who fights like a demon but can't count past 10. Lucius, whose wife just had twins he's never seen. Names matter when you're deciding who lives and who doesn't. Make the march home. The trumpet sounds. The line moves forward. Marcus hesitates. Your staff finds his lower back, and he stumbles into formation. That is the correct answer. The Helvetii warriors scream their war cries across the field. Your men scream back because you taught them how. Shields lock. Swords draw. The collision happens in heartbeats but lasts forever. You watch the line bend but not break. You watch Gaius take a blade in the thigh and keep fighting. You watch a boy from Latium, whose name you haven't learned yet, fall with his throat opened. Lucius goes down, arrow through his shoulder. He crawls backward through the mud and grass, leaving red handprints. He reaches your boots and looks up with eyes that want to go home to those twins. Your staff finds his temple, quick and clean. He stops crawling. That counts for something. A clean death instead of slow bleeding. No shame in his family name. His share of plunder goes to his widow instead of whoever finds his body tomorrow. You made those calculations in the time it takes to swing oak against bone. The Helvetii break. Your century pursues. You count heads as they run past. 73 men still moving. 7 fewer mouths asking for wine tonight. 7 fewer names to remember when you can't sleep. The centurion finds you after. Blood on his gladius. Satisfaction in his voice. He saw you handle Lucius. He saw you keep the line intact when it wanted to fold. He mentions your name to the tribune. Your name in the right mouth means everything. Your tent is larger now. Your blanket is wool instead of rough cloth. Your meals include meat 3 times a week. Small privileges that separate you from the men who still shit in communal latrines and share watered wine. You eat alone most nights. Command requires distance. You write letters for the illiterate. You settle disputes over dice games and stolen bread. You assign watch duties and latrine cleaning and burial details. The mundane machinery of keeping 80 men alive and functional. Some days this matters more than the fighting. The staff leans against your tent pole when you sleep. Within arm's reach, always ready. The men know this. They know you'll use it on them just as quickly as you use it on Lucius, maybe quicker. Discipline requires certainty. Your centurion watches how you handle the next battle. How many men you lose. How many retreat past your staff. Whether you maintain formation or let chaos take hold. He's deciding if you understand what comes next. Level 6, the centurion. You wear the transverse crest now. The horsehair plume runs left to right across your helmet, while every other crest in your century runs front to back. In formation, you are the only horizontal line in a sea of vertical ones. The men can spot you from 200 paces in any direction. Your century numbers 80 men on the roster. You know every name, every face, every weakness. Marcus favors his left shoulder after a Dacian blade found the gap in his mail. Gaius drinks too much but holds his shield steady when it matters. Lucius writes letters to a wife who died 3 winters ago. You know these things because you must. The vine staff weighs 2 pounds in your right hand. You've used it to correct formation, to discipline soldiers, to point toward enemy positions. The twisted wood bears the dents of 1,000 small corrections. The men respect the staff more than they fear it. That balance took 5 years to learn. Your quarters sit adjacent to the sentry barracks. You hear them at night. The jokes, the complaints, the quiet sobs of the newest recruits. You pretend not to listen. They pretend you cannot hear. This fiction maintains discipline. Germanic campaigns drag you into forests where Roman tactics break down. The testudo formation means nothing when you cannot see 50 paces ahead. Your carefully drilled maniples scatter between ancient oaks wider than 3 men. Every tree trunk becomes potential cover for a Germanic warrior with a Francisca axe. You adapt. You spread the sentry into smaller groups, 8 men each. You assign each group a sector. You move through the underbrush like hunters, not soldiers. Your centurion training never covered forest warfare. You learn by watching which formations come back intact. The pay reflects your position. 4,000 denarii annually, plus your share of campaign spoils. You own property in Rome now, a small house near the Campus Martius that you have never seen. Your banker sends reports twice yearly. The rents cover themselves. Your wealth accumulates while you sleep on campaign cots and eat barley porridge. Your optio handles daily logistics. He assigns guard duties, manages equipment distribution, maintains the sentry roster. You handle strategy, punishment, and the impossible decisions. When the sentry captures Germanic prisoners, you decide who lives. When supplies run short, you decide who eats. When a man deserts, you decide whether to pursue him. Your scars multiply. A spear point opened your forearm at the Weser River. A sling stone cracked 2 ribs outside Mogontiacum. Your left knee swells every morning now, a gift from carrying a wounded legionary through 12 miles of bog. You bind it tight with leather strips and march anyway. The other centurions of your cohort meet weekly in the Principia. You discuss tactical adjustments, supply requirements, personnel issues. Centurion Flavius commands 2nd century with brutal efficiency. Centurion Aulus of 4th century knows Germanic dialects. You contribute your own expertise. Forest movement, night operations, prisoner interrogation. You write reports to your tribune monthly. Casualties, equipment status, morale assessments. Your handwriting improved dramatically in this position. Officers read your words. Your observations influence legion planning. Your mistakes echo through entire campaigns. The men watch your every gesture, how you hold your shoulders during briefings, whether you eat the same rations they receive, how quickly you respond to their requests for leave. They measure your character in 1,000 small moments. You measure theirs the same way. Your promotion to primus pilus waits somewhere ahead if you survive the current campaign season. For now, you command your 80 in a forest where Roman discipline meets Germanic cunning. You trust your training, your men, and the vine staff that marks your authority. Level 7, primus, pilus. You command the 1st century of the 1st cohort. 800 men look to you when the tribunes give impossible orders. Your scarred hands grip a vine stick that carries the weight of 25 years. The missing fingers on your left hand make it awkward to hold your shield, but you stopped carrying one into battle 3 years ago anyway. The Principia knows your footsteps. You walk past the standards every morning, past the eagle that you've bled for in Gaul, Germania, Britannia, Dacia. Your sentry's banner hangs heavy with battle honors. Vercellae, Lugdunum, Watling Street. Names that mean nothing to the new recruits, and everything to the men who are there. Your quarters sit apart from the others. Stone walls. A brazier that burns real wood, not the dung, and scraps the younger soldiers use. Wine from amphoras with actual seals. A writing desk where you compose reports that centurions read and fear. You own 3 slaves now. One tends your armor, one prepares your food. One manages the bribes that keep your sentry supplied when the quartermaster's stores run empty. The new centurions seek your counsel. They stand in your doorway, eager and terrified, asking about discipline and tactics and how to keep men alive when the barbarians charge. You tell them what works. Form squares on broken ground. Never let your flanks hang loose. Keep the reserves close enough to hear the horns. Most of them listen. Some think they know better. You remember their names when the casualty reports arrive. Your pay reaches 4,000 denarii per year now, more than a craftsman sees in a decade. You send half to your sister in Beneventum. She writes letters about her children, your nephews and nieces you've never met. They know your name, but not your face. The money buys them good marriages and apprenticeships. That counts for something. The prefectus castrorum consults you before making camp. Where to dig the ditches, how to position the artillery. Which cohorts get the dawn watch? Your opinion shapes the movement of 5,000 men. When you speak in the command tent, tribunes lean forward to catch every word. 20-year-old aristocrats with soft hands asking a carpenter's son from Campania how to win battles. Your body tells a story the scrolls won't record. The scar across your jaw from a Dacian falx. The crooked nose broken in 3 different wars. Your right knee swells every morning now. Legacy of a cavalry charge outside Camulodunum. You sleep 4 hours if you're lucky. The rest of the night, you spend walking the walls, checking sentries, listening for the sounds that mean trouble. The younger soldiers whisper about you. About the time you held a breach alone until the reserves arrived. About the Iceni chieftain whose head you took with a broken gladius. About how you never retreat, never yield, never show fear, even when the odds turn impossible. They make you into something legendary. You let them. Legends hold lines better than men do. Your vine stick bears notches for every flogging you've ordered. 43 marks carved deep in the wood. You remember every face. The coward who ran at Mona, the drunk who struck a civilian in Londinium, the thief who sold rations meant for his tent mates, discipline written in scars across other men's backs. The camp followers know your name too. The merchants who sell gear the army won't provide. The women who comfort soldiers between campaigns. The scribes who forge discharge papers for the right price. Your reputation opens doors that rank alone cannot. Fear and respect compound over decades into something more valuable than gold. A messenger arrives with new orders. Another frontier. Another war. Another chance to prove what 25 years of service has bought you. The cycle continues. Level 8, Prefectus Castrorum. You run the machine that keeps 6,000 men alive. Every grain of wheat, every iron nail, every amphora of oil, every piece of leather that becomes a sandal. It all flows through your hands first. Your office sits in the Principia, stone walls thick enough to muffle the constant stream of centurions who need things, always need things. More javelins because the Dacians bend them. More medical supplies because the German frontier is a meat grinder. More pack animals because the ones they have are dying faster than you can replace them. You wake before dawn to read reports. Quartermaster inventories from 3 different camps. Casualty lists that determine how much grain to order next month. Weather reports that affect supply convoys moving through mountain passes. You know which roads flood in spring, which bridges the barbarians like to burn, which merchants water down their wine, and which ones deliver exactly what they promise. The ledgers pile higher each week. You track everything. 6,000 men eat 18,000 pounds of grain every day. They need oil for their weapons, vinegar to purify water, salt to preserve meat, leather for armor repair, iron for arrowheads, wood for siege engines, canvas for tents. The numbers never stop. You attend morning briefings where the legatus discusses strategy, grand campaigns against distant enemies, glorious battles that will secure Rome's borders forever. You nod at the appropriate moments. You take notes about what these glorious battles will cost, how many wagons, how many mules, how many tons of iron. Glory has a very specific price, calculated down to the last sestertius. Centurions respect you now. They know you control what they need to keep their men alive. They address you as sir. They wait for your permission before requisitioning supplies. Some of them hate waiting. Some of them understand that logistics win wars, not courage. Those are the ones who survive longest. You review contracts with civilian suppliers, merchants who promise delivery dates they cannot meet, craftsmen who substitute inferior materials when they think you will not notice. You always notice. A substandard shield kills a soldier. A weak sword breaks in battle. Everything matters when lives depend on it. Your family sees you during Saturnalia, if you are lucky. Most holidays you spend calculating next season's requirements. Your wife manages the household alone. Your children know their father as the man who comes home late and leaves early. They understand that important men have important work. They do not understand why important work never ends. Reports arrive from other legions. Supply shortages on the Rhine. Equipment failures in Britain. Enemy raids that destroy supply depots before they reach the frontier. Every failure becomes your problem to solve. Every shortage becomes your crisis to manage. Rome's empire runs on logistics. Logistics run through you. You sleep 4 hours if you are fortunate. 5, if nothing goes wrong that day. Something always goes wrong. Convoys delayed by bandits, storms that sink ships carrying Syrian steel, disease that kills horses faster than you can replace them. Each problem requires immediate solutions. Each solution costs money Rome expects you to somehow save. Young tribunes arrive from Rome with fresh ideas about efficiency. They suggest improvements to systems that work. They question procedures developed through decades of trial and death. They learn quickly or transfer elsewhere. The machine cannot stop running while they learn. The cycle continues. Level 9, legatus legonis. You command 5,000 men from a tent that costs more than most soldiers see in 10 years of service. Your desk is carved ebony. Your wine comes from vineyards you own. Your slaves polish armor you will never wear into battle again. The maps spread across your table show territories larger than entire kingdoms. Red marks indicate enemy positions. Blue marks show your cohorts. You move pieces like a game, but each piece represents 80 men who write letters home they hope someone will send if they die. Your morning briefings arrive with the dawn. Casualty reports from yesterday's skirmish. Supply requests from the quartermaster. Dispatches from Rome that arrive weeks late but demand immediate responses. You read about grain shortages while eating honeyed figs. You review requests for medical supplies while your personal physician tends a headache from too much wine. The centurions stand at attention when you emerge from your tent. They remove their helmets. They wait for your words. These men have served 20 years. They know terrain like their own scars. They understand their soldiers' limits better than you understand your own slaves' names. But they wait for your orders because rank is rank. You send the 3rd cohort north to secure the pass. You know the enemy holds high ground there. You know some of those men will not return by sunset. You make this decision while your breakfast grows cold. The centurion nods. He salutes. He marches out to tell 80 fathers and sons they are walking toward death on your command. Your quarters include a private bath. Hot water arrives twice daily. Your clothes are cleaned and pressed while you sleep. You eat from silver plates while your men eat grain porridge from wooden bowls. Your bed has silk sheets. Your men sleep on straw if they are lucky. The dispatches to Rome bear your seal. You report victories in language that makes slaughter sound glorious. You request reinforcements without mentioning you need them because so many died under your previous orders. You recommend soldiers for honors while their blood still stains foreign soil. Your administrative duties consume entire days. Logistics for feeding 5,000 men. Equipment maintenance schedules. Rotation schedules for guard duty. Disciplinary hearings for soldiers who stole bread or fell asleep on watch. You decide their punishments from behind a desk they built with their own hands. The scout returns with intelligence about enemy movements. 1,500 barbarians moving west. They carry cavalry standards. They know this terrain better than your maps show it. You study the report while servants refill your wine. You make deployment decisions that will create widows in villages whose names you cannot pronounce. Your letters home describe glorious campaigns and strategic victories. You do not mention the boy from Gaul who bled out calling for his mother while you watched from horseback. You do not describe the sound 5,000 men make when they march toward battle they know they might not survive. The legion's eagle standard stands outside your tent. Gold and silver crafted by artisans whose names history forgot. Men die protecting that standard. They fall on foreign swords rather than let enemies touch those metal feathers. You own that standard now. It follows your commands. At night, you hear the camp settling, guards calling passwords, horses shifting in their lines, soldiers talking quietly around fires they built from wood they gathered. You created this order. Your authority holds this small civilization together in hostile territory. 5,000 men depend on your judgment. Their families depend on your wisdom. Rome depends on your loyalty. The weight of those dependencies follows you into sleep and waits when you wake. Somewhere in the capital, a young senator receives news of his appointment to military command. He celebrates with wine and congratulations. He has no idea what command actually means. Level 10, the imperator. You wear the purple cloak. The laurel crown sits heavy on your head during state ceremonies. Your Praetorian Guard forms a wall of steel around you wherever you walk. Senators rise when you enter the chamber. Provincial governors send tribute from the edges of the known world. Your word becomes law across 3 continents. The morning briefings begin before dawn. Germanic tribes mass beyond the Rhine. Persian emissaries demand new treaties. Grain shipments from Egypt run 2 weeks behind schedule. A plague spreads through the eastern provinces. Your generals argue over troop deployments, while your treasury officials calculate the cost of feeding 700,000 soldiers scattered across the frontier. You approve executions before breakfast, sign construction orders for new roads through Britannia, review tax collection reports from Hispania, while your food taster samples every dish that reaches your table. The weight of 20 million denarii in annual military spending sits in your stomach like lead. The maps spread across marble tables show every fort, every legion, every mile of border that requires your protection. Red markers indicate where barbarians probe for weakness. Blue markers show where your own troops report unrest. You move pieces like a game, but each piece represents 4,000 lives that follow your commands without question. Your wife speaks to you through intermediaries now. Your children address you as divus pater when court protocol demands it. Your old friends from the academy avoid eye contact during formal audiences. The marble floors echo with the footsteps of men who fear you too much to tell you the truth. Sleep comes in fragments between urgent dispatches. Gallic auxiliaries request winter supplies. A centurion in Syria reports suspicious movement across the Euphrates. Pirates attack merchant vessels near Crete. Each scroll that arrives in the dark hours carries news that could unravel everything your predecessors spent centuries building. You remember the taste of simple bread shared with your Cantabrian brothers in some forgotten camp, the sound of rain on leather tent walls, the satisfaction of a well-maintained gladius in your grip. Now your hands shake slightly as you sign the death warrants that maintain imperial discipline. The purple dye costs more than most citizens earn in a lifetime. The crown weighs 3 pounds of gold. Your throne room stretches 100 feet from door to dais. Foreign kings prostrate themselves before your raised platform. But you have not walked alone through a marketplace in 15 years. Have not touched earth without marble beneath your sandals. Have not heard an honest opinion about anything that matters. Your physicians monitor your pulse after each meal. Your astrologers read omens in every bird flight and lightning strike. Your bodyguards taste your wine and watch your food prepared from grain to plate. The empire spans from the Atlantic to the Euphrates, but you cannot trust the air you breathe. The frontier reports arrive with mathematical precision. Casualties, acceptable. Morale, adequate. Supply lines, functional. Behind each number lies a story you will never hear. A mother in Germania weeps for her son. A farmer in Gaul abandons his burned fields. A merchant in Alexandria counts coins with hands that remember different work. In the courtyard below your window, a young man from the countryside signs his enlistment documents. His stylus scratches across the wax tablet as he commits 25 years of his life to service. The recruiting centurion explains the glory of Roman discipline, the benefits of steady pay and citizenship upon discharge, the honor of defending civilization itself. The boy's eyes shine with possibility. He believes in eagles and victory and coming home with stories worth telling. He has no idea what waits in the Germanic mud, or the weight of the gladius after the first man falls beneath it, or how the years accumulate like scar tissue. The cycle continues.